Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here at United States Dance Championships with a real legend, Mr. Donnie Burns, MBE. How are you today and how do you enjoy it here? What is your impression of the event so far?
I'm really happy to be here, Babette. Thanks so much for asking. I've had a great time. It's not over yet, obviously. This championship's got some great memories for me personally, so that's why way before I moved to the States in 2009, as you know, Gaynor and I came over here many times, danced at the Fontainebleau in Miami and at the Sheraton Bal Harbour, and later went to the Diplomat, and now it's been here for several years, doing a great job. And the people are very nice and very welcoming, so no negative tick boxes really.
Well, you know, you are a legend. Everybody knows you and you have accomplished what most people can only dream of. Is there anything you can tell us, maybe future generations who would like to get into your footsteps? Where to start, how to plan your career, what to do, so one day, you know, we become even like a little bit more like you?
Well, thanks very much for the build-up. The only thing, it's probably going to sound too simple, Babette, if I do say it, but it's very sincere. Focus on your dancing and your performance and block everything else out. And the more you hear political mumbo-jumbo or this or that or the other, every time somebody says something against you, practice another hour and just bubble yourself with your product and your performance and try and cut out all the crap. And once your performance starts to improve, everything else will fall into line.
You know, that's not only great dance advice, that's fabulous life advice as well. And I had lessons with you way back in the day when I was dancing, and you told me a story actually on my lesson. And that is something that when I'm teaching now, sometimes I bring that up. I don't say from whom it is. I said a very famous teacher told me that once, but it's a life lesson you told me, and it was about a boxer who's getting ready. And by the time I was thinking about something, the other boxer is already like in the game, he's already knocked me out. And that stood with me. I worked on that, and I'm telling you, it works. And yet here we are, decades later. So thank you for that.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I remember the story, actually. I think also if you can inspire people, or if people can stay in some sort of inspiration zone, then that's the best place to be. It's not always easy, and you're not going to be there all the time. And as hard as you work, it can always go wrong, and it will go wrong. What can go wrong will go wrong. But I think if you just hone yourself and focus yourself with an intensity, with an inspiration, and just keep working on your performance and your product, I don't think there's much else to think about, really.
I think also what you have an utmost love for the dancing. There's no way you get where you are and give what you give to the dance world if you don't absolutely love that. You must have a passion. My mom once told me, if you want to be a dancer, you have to do that not for the money, not for anything else, but because you have to dance. I think you're one of those people.
Well, I absolutely love the dancing, Babette. You're right. I love the music. Even our own son now, Domenico, 9, has just started to dance 8 months ago, and he started just before COVID. Then he gave it up, and that was okay. And then he wanted to do it again, and he was crying. And I resisted it for a couple of months, and I said to him, "No, Domenico, dancing is not something that you do; it's something that you have to do. It's not a skateboard. It's not a new iPad. It's like a vocation, like a message in your soul, that it's something that you have to do to compete if you want to social dance, that's different. But if you want to compete, it's either that or don't do it." But then in the end, he said he wanted to do it. So of course, I'm never going to hold him back. So yeah, I agree with you on that. It's something, it's a message in your soul that's unstoppable.
Yes, I agree with you. I know you came up with a technique book, and I know your teacher was Walter Laird.
Yeah.
So I feel that probably you had something in your heart that you want the world to know, that no one who's alive today was able to give, and that most likely was your inspiration for bringing out a book and going through that work, because that must have been immense amount of work and done with a lot of love for dancing. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure, Babette, I'd be happy to. Wally passed away. He died, I think it was 2002 or 2003. So 19 years ago. I don't think there was an iPhone 1.
Yeah.
And since then, the body speeds that have been introduced into Latin have been incredible. If you look at the videos from, say, the late 90s, the early 2000s, compare it to the 80s and then compare it to now, the change in body speeds is unbelievable. And none of the technique books had addressed body speed in any way. Wally just briefly introduced it in his last book, I think, but as I say, that was nearly 20 odd years ago. So we were asked, and I always intended to do a technique book, but it's such a huge undertaking. And I thought, well, at least I thought it would take 2 years to do it properly. Well, in the end, it took 4.5. It took 4.5 years. And actually, we were nearly finished after about 2.5 years, 3 years, and then we started from zero and did it again. So it was partly about the body speeds and partly to just bring it up with today's 2022, 2023, and introduce a lot of different columns for body speed and introduce changes that have taken place, or developments that have taken place, to try and, as Mao Zedong said years ago, the West, take the best, leave the rest. So we tried to do that.
I agree. Now, if I'm a young dancer in this world right now and I'm super interested in what you just said, how can I find this book and how can I learn about all of this?
Okay, www.blt.expert, is the website to order it. It's 5 different books, one for each dance, so they're interchangeable, or you can study one and not the others. So it's individually flexible, and it's a very user-friendly layout. So we took, as I said, 4.5 years, and it was lucky because there's one of the few good things to come out of COVID. I honestly don't think if it had been for COVID, in California we were the first state to lock down, as you know. So if it hadn't been for COVID, we might never have finished it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I'm really glad you did. So if I'm now this young dancer, now I found the book, now I got the book. So I assume if I enter one of the workshops you do, this is what will be taught.
Yeah, we do the workshops and we do it on Chorus as well, which is an app. And generally, a lot of our pupils are starting to have been trained in that system, if you like. Ricardo and Julia and some of the others like Clement. And so a lot of these, a lot of the principles are already in there. But for a young and upcoming dancer, it's a good way to start is to just use the apps, go online, see if you like it, and take it from there.
Now, for our future dancing, what would you hope, or what would you imagine? What is in your mind that you imagine that our dancing should go to or could go to? What developments do you really appreciate when you watch out and see what's going on?
Such a great question. I think one of the great developments that I love is that the music, the eye, the visual eye, the dancing in Latin has become much more user-friendly and is very easy on the eye and very attractive. I think to take it further, it's almost like the musical eye has overtaken the musical ear. So I'd like people to think of the musical ear more, and so that even the body speed we spoke about doesn't become disproportionate, so that you can still be compact enough to feel and have the music as well, instead of just a physical approach, that you get a lyrical approach as well.
Now, in my teaching, I'm a big fan of partnering. This is my obsession. This is what I love to do. What is your input on partnering in Latin American dancing, or in ballroom dancing per se?
It's in the book, and almost, if not everything, almost everything that is partnered should be partnered from the weight distribution and the frame.
Well, that explains it all. You don't have to even say more. Well, that was a really inspiring and very interesting talk we just had there. And I'm really glad you joined me. I'm glad we had that conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. And thank you, Donnie, for spending some time with me.
My pleasure. Thank you.